Imagine being excited about the brand new iPad mini Apple just released, so you walk into the store and because you've been told debt is bad, you pay with a big stack of cash. But just a few days later, someone snatches it from your bag and just like that, your $500 is gone with no way to recover it. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you had paid for it with a credit card, say the Chase Freedom Flex, you could have claimed the stolen iPad through purchase protection, covering that $500. And that is just the start. It turns out you're also leaving money on the table every time you don't use a credit card, like 1% on the Freedom Flex or even 5% back at electronics stores with a US Bank Cash Plus card. That's $25 back just by paying for that iPad with the card. Every time you skip your credit card, you're missing out on rewards and benefits, whether it's cash back and protections or more we'll cover in this video. And the best part, you don't have to pay anything to unlock these benefits. Both the cards we've just talked about, no annual fees. But those are just the beginning. There are plenty of other no annual fee cards out there that make sure you always get money back on everything you spend on. The idea is simple. You put spend on the card and pay off the bill in full each month, and along the way, rack up rewards for things you would have bought anyways. In fact, if you're not earning at least 2% back on everything you spend on, that's $2 per every $100 spent you're leaving on the table. Money that could go towards your next purchase, future travel, or just saving up. Take the Citi Double Cash for example. It's been recommended for years and for good reason as it gives you that 2% cash back with no annual fees. The way it works is simple. You get 1% back when you make your purchase and then the other percent once you pay off your bill. But an important point to know here is that no matter which card you're using, always stick to the golden rule of credit cards, which is paying your bill on time every single time. That way, it doesn't matter how high the interest rates are or how much the late fees are. You won't pay any unnecessary fees while keeping all of the rewards and upside. While offers like the low intro APR might be enticing, unless you're really disciplined and know exactly what you're doing, it's usually better to avoid carrying a balance altogether. Now, back to rewards, not only will the card give you that solid 2% cash back, the Citi Double Cash will also give you a $200 welcome bonus after spending $1,500 in the first 6 months, which is another major benefit of using credit cards. In fact, a big chunk of a credit card's rewards typically comes from this initial welcome bonus. Here, that means once you've spent $1,500 in the first 6 months, whether that's $250 per month, $500 every 2 months, or $1,500 right away, you'll get that $200 as the welcome bonus. And don't forget that's on top of the 2% back you get on your spend, adding another $30 of rewards, totaling $230. All of this with no annual fees. And there are plenty more cards like that to ensure you're getting rewarded for every dollar spent. Some, like the Wells Fargo Active Cash, also give you that 2% cash back with no annual fees, making it another great baseline. But if you're looking to earn even more, there are other cards giving you higher rewards, still with no annual fees. And here are just a few of my favorites. First, we gotta revisit the Chase Freedom Flex, because every now and again, this card gets some heavy use from my spend, and that's because every quarter there are different categories that will earn you the elevated 5% back, up to $1,500 every quarter. With some categories this year including groceries, Amazon, restaurants, and even PayPal. And with so many companies now accepting PayPal, it's like getting $5 back on every $100 spent, spending on things I would be buying anyways. Sometimes if I know I'll need more of a certain item later, I'll even stock up to take full advantage of this 5% category before it rotates out again. Next, we have a card that's been on my radar for a while, and that's the newly designed Capital One Savor Rewards card. I haven't added it to my setup yet, but it's a strong contender because of its 3% back on categories like dining, groceries, select streaming services, and entertainment. Food is one of my highest spend categories, so the 3% on dining and groceries can really go a long way. Then if travel or commuting is more where your spend is at, then you may want to consider the Wells Fargo Autograph card, which offers 3 times back on select categories, including restaurants, travel, gas and transit, along with a couple others. And even though it technically earns you points, you can easily convert that over to cash by applying them towards purchases or redeeming for gift cards, giving you that flexibility. But earning rewards isn't the only reason to use credit cards. One of the most overlooked basic benefits is how credit cards protect you in 3 key areas: your money, your purchases, and your travels. First, your money. If you're paying in cash and something goes wrong, say you get scammed, it's going to be a hard time trying to get that money back. If you're using debit, that cash is pulled from your account right away, and it's going to take a long while for them to do the investigation, trace it down, and then give your money back. With credit cards, there's something called the zero liability fraud protection, meaning rarely, if ever, on the hook for these unauthorized charges. If someone scams you or a card skimmer takes your information, the card issuer takes on that risk, not you. I've personally gone through this several times where I'm checking my monthly bill and I'm seeing charges from a state I've never even been to. And in all of those cases, it took a 5 to 10 minute phone call with Chase to identify the fraud charges, have it taken off my monthly bill right away while they do their investigations. And because you wouldn't be owing that amount until the next billing cycle anyways, that money never left your account. That's a huge advantage over debit cards where your money is pulled right away. What's more is that sometimes you'll even get a notification when there's a charge that seems kind of suspicious. For example, I've used my card abroad before trying to purchase some tickets online, only to have it declined, immediately followed by a text and email asking if I actually made this purchase, where I can approve it and then retry it again to ensure it's actually me. With cash or debit, you typically don't get those safeguards. But with credit cards, your money stays safe, your charges are monitored, and you have control. So that's how credit cards protect your money, but what about the things you actually purchase? Well, we've already talked about getting reimbursed for something that's stolen or damaged through purchase protection, as long as it's within a certain time window. But what if that iPad decides to break a little after the initial year of manufacturer warranty? Are you shelling out another $500 just to replace it? Not necessarily. Many credit cards, like the no annual fee Chase Freedom Flex card, comes with extended warranty protection, which adds another year on top of the manufacturer's warranty. So if your device breaks down after the initial period, then you may still be covered, all because you've used the right card to make the purchase. It's a great peace of mind knowing that just because you use the card, you have that extra layer of protection. On top of that, some cards also offer you cell phone protection as long as you pay for the monthly wireless bill with the card, meaning if your phone gets damaged or stolen, you can claim for it back, all without having to pay extra for pricey insurance through your carrier. But one of my favorite protections, and a real gem for deal hunters, is return protection. How many times have you been shopping and found a steep discount on an item that's final sale, but had second thoughts because, well, final sale means no returns, right? It's even worse if you're shopping online because maybe you don't know if that shirt or those pants will fit nicely. Well, what if by paying with the right card, they'll give you a refund even if the store won't take it back? While not all cards have this perk, and many that do also come with an annual fee, there is one option that does not have an annual fee in the first year, and that's with American Express's Blue Cash Preferred, where its return protection will cover eligible items up to 90 days after the purchase date of $300 per item or up to $1,000 per year. After the first year, the card will cost you $95 in annual fee, but honestly, a lot of the perks and benefits from it could justify that cost, like the $250 in welcome bonus after spending $3,000 in the first 6 months, the $84 credit towards the Disney bundle, and getting really high cash back rates on groceries, select streaming, transit, and gas. That means $6 back every $100 of spend on groceries up to the yearly limit. And then there's travel. Imagine having booked a trip of a lifetime, having looked forward to it for months, but just 2 weeks before your flight, you had a freak accident and broke your leg. The only thing worse than not being able to go on your trip is knowing that all of those non-refundable bookings, like the flight, the hotels, and the tours, are now money down the drain, but not if you paid with the right credit cards. Take for example the no annual fee Chase Freedom Flex card. Again, you'd be covered through trip cancellation insurance, covering up to $1,500 per person or $6,000 per trip for covered reasons. And yes, medical emergencies like breaking your leg and not being able to go on your trip do count. The difference between that and the trip interruption insurance is that the interruption insurance happens after you've actually started your trip. So if something happens happens during the trip preventing you from continuing it, and maybe you need a flight home, that's where this insurance comes into play. Now, nobody wants to have to use these insurances, but things do happen. If you had paid with cash or debit, then you'd be personally on the hook for those losses. Or you would have needed to spend hundreds of dollars buying expensive travel insurance to have the same peace of mind you would get for free on some of the right credit cards. Now, let's say you do make it on your trip, but your flight is delayed overnight, forcing you to get a hotel room. Well, then with cards like the United Explorer, which has no annual fees in the first year as well, you'd have trip delay reimbursement where you'll get money back for your hotel, meals, and other essentials if your flight has been delayed for over 12 hours or requires an overnight stay. And if you're just that unlucky and on your second flight your luggage gets delayed or lost, there's insurance for that too, say if it's delayed by more than 6 hours. The ones that do typically have other credits and benefits that offset that cost. Take the United Explorer card again. Yes, it has a $95 annual fee from the second year onwards, but just by using the free check bag for you and your companion for a round trip can easily save you more than that already. Not to mention the card also comes with a 50,000 mile welcome bonus after spending $3,000 in the first 3 months, which is already enough for a couple domestic flights. In fact, some of the more fancier cards out there offer even more incredible rewards, like over $1,000 of yearly credits on the American Express Platinum card, or enhanced return protection up to $500 per item on the Chase Sapphire Reserve. But you can't just jump into those cards right away. If you think about it, would it make sense to hand over such a powerful card to someone who's never used credit cards before, or to someone who's been using credit cards responsibly over 1 to 2 years? Of course, it's the latter, and that concept applies to more than just credit cards. This reputation, known as credit score, can affect the apartments you'd qualify for, the interest rate on your car loan, or the size of your mortgage for your future home. And the best way to build and maintain that credit score reputation is by using credit cards responsibly while getting rewarded along the way. Now, for an in-depth step-by-step guide, check out this video here, but here's a short version. Your credit score typically ranges between 300 to 850, with anything above 740 typically referred to as quite good. It's broken down into 5 buckets, whereby using credit cards the right way can help you improve each of the 5 buckets. 35% of your score is from your payment history, the most important factor. It tracks whether you've been paying your bill on time every time, which is where that golden rule comes from. It'll also mean you'll never have to worry about late fees or interest charges. 30% is from amounts owed or utilization. This measures how much of your total available credit you typically use. Ideally, you want to stay below a 30% threshold, but under 10% is even better. For example, if you have $20,000 of credit limit across all of your cards and you spend about $1,000 per month, then your utilization ratio would be quite good at 5%. Then 15% is from the length of your credit history. This one takes time, so the sooner you can get your credit card and start building, the better. That's why I always recommend starting early, even if it's with one of the most basic beginner cards. Over time, your average and longest account age goes higher, which improves this part of your credit score. Then the other two 10% buckets don't matter as much, but has to do with things like getting new credit, like credit cards, or credit mix, which credit cards help you feed into. Personally, my score hovers around the mid to high 700s with a utilization ratio that sticks around 2%. And honestly, maintaining a good credit score becomes second nature after a while, after you've gotten used to those good habits. Speaking of scores, you've probably heard of the myth that getting new credit cards will ruin your credit score, and that's simply just not true. Yes, when applying for new credit cards, the issuer will do a hard pull on your credit to run a check, which will have a slight dip in your credit score. But that's usually temporary and will bounce right back after a couple months. The mid to long-term benefits of not only using your cards to build credit, but also the rewards you get and the protections you have far outweigh any short-term impact or dip on your credit score. Now, most of what we covered today has been about giving you that strong foundation so you can get started in the easiest way possible, with cards that will cost you nothing yet reward you a lot. But honestly, that's just scratching the surface of what credit cards can unlock. For example, with elevated travel experiences, flying around the world on some of the best airlines in the world, enjoying upgrades and amazing hotels, to essentially making money through all the credits and benefits on my cards, where I don't mind paying a couple $1,000s in annual fees every single year. But none of that happens without starting with the basics, which is what this video is about. Earning that 2% back on everything you spend on, building your credit score with good habits, and protecting your money, purchases, and travel every step of the way. So if you're ready to take that next step and learn about which cards are best fit for you without any annual fees, check out this video here and I'll see you over there.